All right, well, video games have evolved over the years. We know that, from Pac-Man, right, in the 80s, to Sonic the Hedgehog in the 90s, to modern Grand Theft Auto series. But one thing does remain the same: the thrill for the gamers. And that raises a really big question here about the virtual thrills translating to real-life aggression. Joining us now from Philadelphia, Dr. Chuck Williams, who heads the Center for the Prevention of School-Age Violence, and then via Skype from Reston, Virginia, Cheryl Olson. She's the co-founder of the Center for Mental Health and Media. Dr. Williams, let's go ahead and start with you. You actually believe there is a link between violent behavior and violent video games. Tell me why.
Well, thanks for having me here to have this very important discussion. It's not about what I think. It's about what the research says. Now, we have data going back 4, 5, 6 decades, longitudinal studies that, that really show that there is an increase in aggressive thoughts when children play video games. There's an increase in aggressive feelings. There's an increase in aggressive behavior. There's an increase in the physiological sort of fear response. That's the fight or flight response, which sort of has us on sort of teetering on the edge of aggression. Now, is there causality? No. But we don't need causality. All we need are good studies to show the strong correlation between the consumption of violent media, like violent video games, and its negative impact on children. The American Psychological Association has talked about this, the American Counseling Association. I mean, every major professional organization in the country, in the world, has put out some statement around, as it relates to mental health, put out some statement saying that they are convinced that there is some thing and the way that violent media can contribute to children actually acting out violently and aggressively.
But
and this has been established for many years.
Well, let me bring Cheryl in. But Cheryl, I mean, we're talking about murder. We're talking about killing someone, right?
Yeah.
I mean, do you believe a child has to already have a pre-existing mental condition to go farther than just getting an adrenaline rush, but actually killing somebody?
Well, I should say there isn't any evidence linking any murder to any violent piece of media, including video games. I did research, government-funded research on video game violence when I was on the faculty at Harvard Medical School. I focused on young teenage boys. And one of the things we looked at was effects on bullying and physical fighting and other kinds of things. Because first of all, one of the things we found is that violent video games are in most American homes. Nowadays, the typical teenage boy and a lot of the girls are playing at least one of these M-rated violent video games on a regular basis. And I'm in no way saying an 8-year-old should have access to these types of games. At the very least, there's a lot of swearing in them. And we know kids can learn things like swearing from movies and TV shows and from their siblings.
Mom and dad.
Yeah, the family dynamic.
Yeah, we want to at least tamp it down.
it.
In the research, we did focus groups with teenage boys, and the one thing we said, well, I might let my little brother watch me play Grand Theft Auto, but I'd turn the audio down so he wouldn't hear the swears, because if he might copy that behavior, and that could make my family look bad, like my mom wasn't raising us regular.
Dr. Williams, what's your concern, though, knowing what you know and the research you've done, right? What is your biggest concern?
Well, you know what?
Yes.
I was just going to say, sorry to cut you off, but the debate is over. My colleague just agreed with me that an 8-year-old shouldn't be playing these games. But since we're on television and on your show, we got to keep talking about this. And, you know, the bottom line is, I never said that there is a causal relationship. I never said that it's something that will definitely happen. I am saying what my colleagues are saying and what research supports, which is that there's a strong relationship between these things. We always look to see what are the harmful things in a kid's environment that we can remove to make it more likely that they will not be in danger. Violent video games is one of those things.
So let's get to the phone lines. Michelle from North Dakota on the line. Michelle, you actually notice a difference in your kids when they play these violent video games. Explain, how are they different?
Well, I don't allow violent video games in my home. I'm a divorced mom. When my son goes to his father's place, I know that they play games such as that. And my son tells me, he's very frank about it. He comes home in the morning, when the mornings we get him back home, it's awful. He's aggressive. He's mean. He has a tendency to hit. I'm not saying that it's all the video game, but there's definitely an influence there with perhaps maybe not quite so healthy a situation with, daddy dearest sitting down and playing these video games with them and encouraging it.
Dr. Tiff, we got about 10 seconds to break. Your final thought
so
here.
I don't know.
We've got to be better at policing our kids when they do play these games. So if we're going to allow them to play it, we need to sit there with them, we need to talk them through it, and we need to debrief afterwards.
Can I tell you, whatever
The kids aren't buying them.
Whatever happened to
Right.
going outside and just playing Ghost in the Graveyard on the cul-de-sac, okay?
The first
what
half of your
happened
show
to
was
creative
about
play?
victims.
Those days are
And
over.
so
The kids need to get outside.